Whatever it is that you are running from, it doesn't go anywhere. Whatever it is that you're chasing that you can't seem to find doesn't go anywhere. Early on, I had a really powerful meditation and sat down. Within seconds, it felt as if a large doorway had somehow opened up right here, kind of like this. And suddenly, it was as if the space I was in was much, much, much larger than the room that I had perceived myself to be in before. Kind of a big, echoing, cavernous, dark space. And just in the distance, not very far, it looked like a living python was swallowing its own tail. And there were flecks of gold and orange light kind of pouring off in all directions like a fire. This perfect circle that was undulating and moving. Before entering this meditation, there were questions about pain and suffering and sadness. And here, there was a sense of insight, almost like a warm, golden warm energy right beneath the navel, wanting to come upward and pour out of the mouth like a flashlight. And as I watched this particular snake attempting to devour itself, it became clear that there was a roll of skin beginning to form around its neck, as if it was shedding this skin. And there, as it moved and undulated, I could see this roll of skin move around the body all the way to the tail, and then right back over the head again. And it continued in that way, to move around the body all the way back to the tail, and just rolled over the head again. And this continued and continued for a few revolutions before I heard the sound of a gong. And even though the sense that I was in this meditation for maybe 2 minutes, this had gone on for an hour. And along with that warm golden glow and that sense that something was coming out of the mouth was a singular thought, some sort of insight that apparently can be translated. And the thought, the insight was pain and suffering. It doesn't go anywhere. We don't actually release it anywhere. Where could it go? It just moves and it changes. Pain just wants a relationship. It's kind of funny that way. Outside of the mind, the experience of pain seems mysterious. It seems like something we don't really know. Suffering is something we don't really know. We seem really clear on what pain and suffering are. Yet if we sit with that and just allow ourselves to be with it long enough, we might realize that the majority of mankind doesn't really know pain directly. It just knows the interpretation of pain. It knows the resistance or the avoidance to pain and suffering. And while there are a myriad of different varieties of pain, it's really our relationship with it. This is why if you've ever been to a doctor's office, you can see that there's a scale, that there's really no official way to measure pain. It's the perception. On a scale from 1 to 10, how strong is the pain? Physically, emotionally, and otherwise, it is connected. It wants to make reference. It doesn't go anywhere. We can't get rid of it. There is something about getting to know it and developing a relationship with that which we have historically or traditionally avoided. we can know what the pain is. And so the metaphor goes, there's an old man sitting in a single-room cottage late at night, somewhere in the desert. He's reading a book by candlelight, and he hears a pounding and a pounding at his door. And his initial reaction is fear. He thinks, oh my God, someone is coming to harm me or possibly kill me. And the pounding continues for 20, 30 minutes. Let me in. Let me in. And finally, the old man steals his courage. He stands up, inches slowly toward the door, puts his hand on the doorknob and gingerly opens and looks around the corner just enough to see, and he sees a long-lost friend, someone he hasn't seen since childhood. It's been 60, 70 years, yet he somehow recognizes this person immediately. And with that, he throws the door wide open, runs toward him. They embrace, and it's as if a water balloon of catharsis just bursts and falls over them. That is the metaphor for pain. The pounding at the door is the pain. That which we usually avoid, that which we usually resist. It just wants to be known. If we sit into the conceptualization of that experience, which is really what it is to experience anything through the mind, then we only know what we are avoiding or resisting. It is not direct. It doesn't go anywhere. We can't release the pain. It can't pass through us. Even if the sensation is that it dissolves or it moves away, that energy is always here. What can we be separate from? What can we be without? What is over there that is not right here? What is not connected? What remains separate? The conceptualization of pain. The desire, the wanting to keep something separate. A feeling of discomfort. A feeling of unease. And then we conceptualize it even further and we create stories. We create a variety or a cornucopia of ideas and bits and pieces and a variety of fables associated with the pain itself. Yet it's really just the sensation of discomfort that we are seeking to avoid. So here is the opportunity. The most direct path toward any sort of insight, awakening or otherwise, is to move directly with that which is already here. No need to avoid anything. No need to run from anything. Where could we go that it isn't there anyway? Sometimes we have this intense sense of resistance of pushing something away. And if we push hard enough, it seems like we could keep it at bay for a period of time, just at arm's reach. And then things can get stressful. Maybe the immune system starts to weaken, and it feels as if there's this complete collapse. Wham! All of the pain and suffering that we've been holding at arm's reach just comes together in a vacuum instantaneously. And then we look up and we say, why does this always happen to me? It's because we've deluded ourselves. The mind has deluded us into believing that we can avoid that which already is. That we can somehow be an exception to the nature of this universe. And truly, our truest nature is being with whatever is. If it's raining, we can be with the rain. If it's sunny, we can be with the sun. This is what's most natural. We don't have to fix everything. That comes under the assumption and the predication of a belief that there is a problem. There's a problem, there's something to be fixed. The trick with that is believing that there's a problem means there will always be a problem. Just because a solution is found doesn't mean the belief that there are problems go away. Freedom lies in our ability to connect with what already is. It doesn't go anywhere. If we choose to shed skin, it will just wrap right around the body once again in a continuum. It doesn't go anywhere. Allow yourself to have a relationship with these things that are at least abstractly difficult. Experiment a little. Can you spend 1 minute entirely engulfed in the sensation that you usually avoid? Can you pay attention to the thoughts that are attempting to co-opt, tell stories, and write fables about that experience? Can you feel all the way? Can you spend 5 minutes the next day? 10 minutes? 15? If you're at work in a dynamic environment and something arises, maybe a conflict with a coworker or some news that you just didn't want to have to hear, go to the bathroom, sit in a stall for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and remain as still as possible. Feel it. Feel it all the way. This is built in. You have the ability to do this. And you'll probably find that the more time you spend with these uncomfortable feelings, the less association the mind can place with them. They begin to change on their own. Maybe they weren't uncomfortable in the first place. Maybe that was just another thought. And this continues to peel a layer until we get deeper and deeper. And soon, you might come in contact with another belief. Beautiful. Sit with that. What sensation is associated with the belief? What wants to be protected? What wants to avoid that sensation? What wants to resist that sensation? It's not about the doings. It's about the being. To feel. And you will be surprised at your capacity to feel. It's been built in since the moment of conception. Your whole life, you've been feeling. This is what it's like to be a fish immersed in the water. To live in a conceptual space of the mind is simply to find distraction. Play with it a little bit. Experiment. See if you can be fully immersed in the feeling space. See if you can spend an entire day completely engrossed in the feeling space. To live life this way is to live effortlessly in a flow, and more insights will become readily apparent. It doesn't go anywhere. It moves. It changes. Doesn't have meaning. It's just a concept. It's just a thought. And that's it. And those thoughts are just reflecting on something historic in the past, attempting to drag that theory of consistency into the present. The entire identity is built on these beliefs. A sense of consistency through experience, a sense of something permanent, and ultimately, a sense of lacking. Play with it a little bit. Feel your feelings. You don't need to label them. Just be so fully immersed in the sensation that nothing else exists. And if thoughts are being persistent, point and return. Let every thought be a cue to feel. This doesn't leave. We can't be rid of this. That desire is another distraction. We can know it. It is us. We are it. And from there, in that full immersion, maybe there's no voice that tells us who we are any longer. That we are so fully immersed in this moment intimately and immediately that we lose ourselves. That is liberation. That is freedom. It's okay to feel. You're made for this. It doesn't go anywhere. And you can stay.